All right, Shalom. Before I start off, I'd like to first and foremost, as always, give all honor, glory, and praise to Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Hakodash, the honest, our venerated apostles and elders of Great Millstone taught us the truth, and they rule well and are the true leaders of the nation of Israel, which consists of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad. And this is going to be another update on the conflict over there between Israel and Iran. All right, and pretty much what economists are saying about the U.S. going to war with Iran, how that's going to affect the economy drastically. All right, but the elders and apostles on down have been saying that the U.S. would be dragged into a conflict over there with Iran. All right. The least of the flock shall draw them out. The Amalekites, all right, the 1948ers would drag the U.S. into a conflict out there. All right. So now you have it. A couple hours ago, all right, Trump announced he addressed the nation after the U.S. actually conducted strikes out there on three nuclear sites. Okay, because they've been targeting Iran's nuclear program. Right, there was a high alert over them stockpiling enriched uranium. All right, because they believe that they had the potential to develop a weapon. All right, so here it is. The U.S. strikes Iran. President Donald Trump described U.S. military strikes on 3 nuclear sites as a spectacular military success and added that the facilities were completely and totally obliterated. In an address from the White House on Sunday evening, Trump warned Iran that the U.S. would go after additional targets if Iran does not make peace, because they were trying to negotiate, all right, with Iran. All right, and Iran is basically shutting down negotiations, okay, after the pursuit of a nuclear deal. It says about the strikes, American B-2 bombers were used in the strikes. And sources said the U.S. also utilized a 30,000-pound bunker-busted bomb. It's the first known instance of the bomb being used operationally. It says hostilities escalate. The Israel-Iran conflict has entered its second week. Earlier on Saturday, Israel claimed the killing of 2 commanders in Iran's elite Quds force and said it struck a range of Iranian military targets. In Israel, 2 Iranian drones made a rare breach of the country's air defenses. So, the Most High is mustering the host of the battle to this battle of Armageddon, all right, mountain of troops in the Hebrew, all right, which is the war to end all wars, the Third World War, all right? And we see that these tensions are escalating and conflict is being stirred up over there in the East, which is the premiere of this world war, okay? Things are going to get popping off over there in the East, and the Lord is going to pop up and make his return in the midst of that. In the midst of these nations fighting, the Lord Yahweh Shai is going to come with his armada and lay waste, all right, and deliver his elect and render a destruction unto this place, Babylon, aka America. Okay, but up until that point, you're going to have a lot of things popping off. Scriptures talk about the birth pains, all right, those contractions that come forth, likened unto the calamities and things that are going to be happening, all right, up until Yahweh Shai's return, all right. So we know that the MOTB is right around the corner, because as we're going to go into, this is from Al Jazeera, what would an Israel-Iran war mean for the global economy? Okay, and we know that they're trying to do away with the old order as it stands and come with the NWO, the enterprise, which is bringing about a digital economy, okay, and coupled with the MOTB, the RFID microchip slash NFC microchip. It says, as attacks between Israel and Iran persist, the global economy could face an adverse shock if tensions aren't contained. It says, as Israel and Iran exchange deadly salvos for the fourth day, there are growing concerns that the conflict will spread across one of the world's key oil and gas producing regions. Equity markets initially were roiled after Israel's surprise attack on Friday, but have since stabilized. A day after Israel killed several of Iran's top military commanders and nuclear scientists and damaged some of its nuclear sites. And that's the provocation. That's why, you're seeing that retaliation from Iran. Because Israel is trying to do to them what they're doing over there in Gaza. Okay? It says Israel then hit Iran's fossil fuel sector on Saturday, with Iranian state media reporting a blaze at the South Pars gas field. More than 220 people have been killed in the Israeli attacks, including at least 70 women and children, according to the Iranian authorities. Iran responded with a barrage of ballistic missile and drone strikes, a small percentage of which succeeded in penetrating Israeli defenses, killing at least 24 people. But now it says, as the conflict between Middle East's two most powerful military spirals towards a full-fledged war, and that's what's going to happen. Okay, eventually, like it tells you in Joel the 2nd chapter, Joel the 3rd chapter, all right, that the Most High is gathering the nations over there to the valley of Shaphat, the valley of the Most High's judgment, over there in the east. All right. Matter of fact, let me get this. This is Zephaniah 3:8. Therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. All right, and we are waiting. Okay, we're standing upon our watch. All right, and we're patiently suffering. All right, but we know that the Lord is making things happen, and prophecy is moving, man. Things are moving quickly. The time is being shortened. Right, the scriptures talk about unless those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. And for the elect's sake, those days should be shortened, man. And time is flying. Okay, things are happening very quickly. All right, and things are hot. Things are picking up. Until the day that I rise up to the prey. And my determination is to gather the nations, right? Because the Lord is gathering these nations over there to pour out his indignation on them. It says, for my determination is to gather the nations that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right. So it says, go back to the article, as the conflict between the Middle East's two most powerful military spirals toward a full-fledged war. Financial markets and the aviation sector are taking a hit. Analysts are watching oil prices and investors are turning to safe havens like gold. And a full-blown war can make things even worse, much worse, experts warn. So the global economy is going to take a hit. The U.S. economy is going to take a hit. Because whenever, the U.S. would go to war, it would affect the economy. Okay, it's something like, the U.S. going to war with Iran. All right. Let me get something. So I just did a quick search using ChatGPT, right? How could the U.S. going to war with Iran negatively impact the U.S. economy? It says if the U.S. were to go to war with Iran, the economic consequences would be significant and wide-ranging. Here are the main ways it could negatively impact the U.S. economy. It says oil prices would spike, right? Why? Iran is a major player in the Middle East, which is a critical region for global oil supply. Any conflict could disrupt oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which 20% of global oil flows. It says impact, gasoline prices in the U.S. will rise sharply, higher fuel costs, increased transportation and production expenses, which would ripple across the economy. Okay, and people are now feeling, all right, inflationary pressure as we speak. But as you know, the U.S. is getting dragged into this war, all right, and you have the effect of these things happening, okay, that's going to put even more a strain on the American people, all right, and eventually shit is going to hit the fan. It's HTF. People are going to lose it, man, all right. There's a saying, who said that? Real quick. Okay. So, you had an individual named James Baldwin say, the most dangerous creation of any society is a man who has nothing to lose. All right? Again, if people have nothing to lose, they lose it, man. All right? These people out here, they're feeling the effects of inflationary pressure. Prices on food going up, and, you know, these Americans, they know shit is getting tough, man. All right, shit is getting tough. It's getting harder for people to, you know, keep up with bills and expenses. All right, and things are set to get a lot worse, which is going to cause people to turn against one another and chaos in these streets. But that's the whole modus operandi, you know, order ab chaos. That's what these devils want, all right? And these small hats, they fund all wars. But it says, going back, how the U.S. economy will be affected by a war with Iran. The second point, it says increased government spending and deficits. Why? War requires massive military spending of deployment of troops, equipment, weapons, etc. It says impact, the U.S. will likely have to borrow more, increasing the national debt and possibly leading to higher interest rates in the long run. So this thing is about to tank, man. All right. Stock market volatility. Why? Markets react negatively to geopolitical uncertainty. Impact, investor confidence will drop, especially in sectors exposed to global trade and energy. A sustained downturn could impact retirement accounts, 401ks, IRAs, and consumer wealth. Inflationary pressures. Why? Higher oil and commodity prices coupled with supply chain disruptions would raise the cost of goods. Okay? Hyperinflation. Hey. The elders and apostles have always said that hyperinflation would be a thing. Okay, the scriptures speak on that. All right, a day's wages for bread, and that's gonna drive people crazy. It says impact inflation erodes purchasing power and puts pressure on the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates, potentially triggering a recession. This place is gonna be looking like a third world country. And brothers made mention of a dog eat dog world. All right, that's what it's gonna be out here. Lord willing, I'm gonna do a lesson on that. But it says global trade disruptions. Why? A war with the Persian Gulf could disrupt major shipping lanes and lead to retaliatory actions, e.g. cyber attacks, blockades. Impact: businesses dependent on imports, exports could face higher costs, delays, and cancellations, particularly in manufacturing and tech sectors. Okay, this, all right, as you already had, tariffs that Trump was imposing on these other nations that manufacture a lot of goods for America. All right, shipping ports, not a lot of things coming in. And America is an importing, an import country. They import a lot of goods from these other nations. All right, and that's gonna affect the like it says, supply chain disruptions, raising the cost of goods. All right, and that affects the consumers. It says impact: businesses dependent on imports, exports could face higher costs, delays, or cancellations, particularly in manufacturing and tech sectors. 6, retaliatory attacks and cybersecurity threats. Right now, that's another thing. Okay, Iran could retaliate, or they could stage a FF that brothers have been going into and place the blame on Iran. All right, justifying themselves and fully going after Iran. All right, and a cyber security threat or a cyber attack. Right? Remember, Klaus Schwab was talking about comprehensive cyber attacks. All right, black swan events, and so on and so forth. All right, so we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. We know what time it is, and this devil wants to get the ball rolling with his NWO and this whole AI system. All right, the digital economy, the MOTB, and full-on slavery for people out here. All right, it's hot, and we see all these things coming. All right, shit is gonna happen simultaneously. All right, those pretty much outside the know of the true doctrine of Yahweh Shem Shai, they're not gonna know what's getting ready to happen. All right, they don't understand the MOTB and prophecy. They're gonna be caught off guard. Right, you got a lot of Israelite camps out here that are teaching their congregations, with the MOTB, teaching that the MOTB is anything and everything but what it truly is. All right, and that's going to lead people into, being caught off guard. All right. And the GMS, beginning with the elders and apostles on down, had it right. All right, Ben had it right. Okay, and never changed on that. But it says, Retaliatory attacks and cybersecurity threats. Why? Iran has advanced cyber capabilities and regional proxies that could target U.S. infrastructure, businesses, or allies. Impact. A successful cyber attack could paralyze financial systems, utilities, or transport networks, leading to significant economic losses. Decline in consumer and business confidence. Why? War creates fear and uncertainty. People spend less and businesses hold off investments and hiring, slowing down economic growth. Strain on global alliances and diplomatic ties. Why allies might not support the war. Okay, case in point, I was watching the elder Karatazar out of Vegas break down how Turkey, which is a nation allied with NATO, all right, and Russia, went pushing for a diplomatic solution to the conflict between Iran and Israel, I believe. And these are two significant nations in prophecy. All right, you have Ezekiel 38. Okay, now as it stands, Turkey is allied with NATO, but they have a relationship with Russia. All right, and seeing how this whole thing between Iran and Israel is popping off, Russia and Turkey are pushing for diplomatic ties, right? And Turkey, doesn't favor Israel, yet are a member of NATO. So they're gonna have to choose a side. Ezekiel 38, Gomer and all his bands, they're gonna eventually side with Russia, and we're gonna see how that plays out. All right. But just to show you that these words, all right, the words of prophecy, man. Okay, everything written according to biblical prophecy is faithful and true. It's gonna happen for this time. All right, being the time of the end. Jacob is like Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. So we know that Esau is at his end, man. This place America is done for. Hey, Esau he's getting ready to get up out of here. And Israel got next. All right. But it says, strain on global alliances and diplomatic ties. Why allies might not support the war, especially if it is seen as unjustified or escalatory. And we're seeing that with Turkey. All right, which, Turkey, Hungary also, which, are allied with America. These European nations, they have over time expressed an anti-American sentiment, man. All right, and eventually the allies of America are going to turn in this Third World War. It says impact, reduced cooperation in trade agreements and sanctions enforcement, potentially leading to fragmentation in global markets. So this economy is going to take a hit, man. Case in point, the U.S. being dragged into a war with Iran would have a devastating effect on the U.S. economy. All right. So the U.S. dollar is on its way out, man. The U.S. dollar is on the verge of a major decline. The hot topic in the financial markets has been de-dollarization, right? The shift away from using the U.S. dollar, which was the world reserve currency, okay? The primary currency of exchange and global trade and investment. All right. So let me grab Ecclesiastes 7-12. For For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. And the Lord gave us wisdom. All right, which is the best defense there is. All right, the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this truth. All right, of Yahweh Shemel Shai. Okay, wisdom, man. All right, how we're gonna be able to maneuver in these times and how we're gonna be able to sustain. All right, it's all through the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of this truth. Isaiah 33:6. For wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, the strength of salvation. All right. Proverbs 11:4. Riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivereth from death. All right. Righteousness delivereth from death. You know, that's plain in itself. All right, but in these end times, the elect of the nation of Israel would be leaning upon Yahweh Shemel Shai. All right, through faith. And we understand that this money can't save you, man. All right. Got a lot of people, a lot of our people that have made covenants with Esau. All right, deals with Esau behind closed doors. You know, have made money their idol. All right, riches profit not in the day of wrath, but righteousness delivered from death. So when this money goes, this economy tanks. A lot of people are gonna feel the effects of it, man. All right. Ecclesiastes 12:1 says, "Remember now that thy created in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them." So the scriptures are telling us to remember the Lord in the days of our youth, the so-called prime years, because you have a lot of individuals in the society that are chasing their dreams or whatever aspirations to live it up and do as they please. All right, which is, you know, that spirit that's pushed, the Aleister Crowley spirit that's pushing the society, that do as thou wilt. All right, got a lot of individuals trying to chase the bag, so to speak. All right, the pride of life, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes. Right, that's all the ways of this world. The scriptures tell us to arise and depart, for this is not our rest. All right, which starts, you know, spiritually, and turning back to Yahweh Shemel Shai, repenting, and seeking the Lord while you may be found, and calling upon Him. All right, and trying to do what is well pleasing in His sight, in hopes that, you know, we be a part of the elect and be delivered out of this place. All right, and from the calamities that are coming upon the world, you know, because Esau, he's making haste with his plans, man. All right, Revelation 12:12, the devil shall come down with great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. All right, he is setting the stage for the MOTB. So part of remembering the Lord is rehearsing the righteous acts, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and being separate, holy, set apart, because that's our wisdom and understanding in the sight of the nations. All right. As it tells you in Deuteronomy 4 and 6. In the evil days is speaking of the end. Prior to the day of the Lord, there's going to be various things, evil things happening in the earth. All right. Ecclesiastes 12 and 2. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be darkened or be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the days when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. All right, the keepers of the house would be the economists, which in the Greek, it's ecomenos, meaning house management. All right, and economists are expert in predicting the trajectory of different things. All right, which can speak about the economy and predict where it's all going. All right, you have stockbrokers that sell stocks and get money from investors and go out to find good investment stocks to make investors more money. So themselves, they could get broken off. All right. But in this case, they're trembling because they see it's all collapsing. And a lot of economists, they speculate that things are going to get a lot worse. Right, as we read in those articles, The strong men shall bow themselves. What it means to bow. All right, and the strong man is dealing with those that are strong economically. And when you bow yourself, you're in extreme pain because you've lost something. All right. The grinders shall cease, representing job losses, because with everything we're seeing now with you had the federal job losses, they're moving everything into digitization. When the robots running factories, AI, soon enough people are going to be designated into those 15-minute smart cities and given a UBI. All right, having to be totally subject to the gov. Klaus Schwab said it, you shall own nothing and be happy. So that's where it's going. Verse 4, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So let me grab I'm gonna grab one more and close. This is Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 5 and 7. Make no turn to turn to the Lord. All right, what it means to tarry is to wait. All right, don't wait. To turn to the Lord. And put not off from day to day. For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in thy security thou shalt be destroyed, and perish in the day of vengeance. I see a lot of people in the society, they're in that mindset of peace and safety, security. But what most are completely oblivious to is that these things are getting ready to affect the U.S. in a major way. Right, so anyways, in closing, I'd like to once again give all honor, glory, and praise unto our Heavenly Father and His only God's Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakodash, double honor to our venerated apostles and elders once again, the great millstone, all right, and peace and blessings to the elect. Till next time, say shalom.